Hi, good morning everyone. In Polish, dzień dobry wszystkim. My name is Kuba and together with my friend Maja, we have prepared a small presentation about graphs. We will discuss some basic concept and we'll find out what is a graph. So, what is it? Sometimes we want to make a diagram of relationship of coordinate elements or graphically present a given situation. Usually we use a simple lines that connect points represented as selected geometric shapes. Such a scheme makes our work much easier and allows us to achieve better results of the intended goal. From that moment, we know that's graph in which the vertices are marked with letters while its edges will be marked with a symbol of the AB type, what means the edge connecting the vertex A with the vertex B. Okay, one of the properties of graphs is their targeting. We have directed and undirected graphs. Undirected graph in which the edges have no direction, that means the edge E v1, v2 is the same as edge v2, v1. An example of such a graph would be a people graph where the edge represents meetings, because if A meet B, then B meet A, so the graph is undirected. We can see that every vertex is simply connected with its neighbor. Direct graph in which we distinguish between an edge v1, v2 and v2, v1. An example of such a graph can be a graph of people and whether they like each other. If A likes B, then B may also like A, but he doesn't have to. Here we can see that 1 is related to 2, but 2 is not related to 1. Graph is connected if for each pair of vertices there is a path that connects them. In this graph, all vertices are connected to each other, so it is a connected graph. Here we can see that 6 and 7 are in no way connected with the rest of the toppers, so here we are dealing with the disconnected graph. One way of searching a graph is through the depth first search algorithm. The strategy of such a solution is very simple. From the initial vertex, we go to the first vertex connected with it. Let's call it vertex A. Then we go from vertex A to the first unvisited so far connected with it. Let us call it B. From this to the first unvisited vertex, and so on to the end. When we run out of vertices in this way, we go back to the vertex from which we last came and we go from that place to the next unvisited, if there is one. We repeat these actions until we visit all the vertices. Let's check how it works on this example. Suppose we start with vertex number 1. We deselect it as visited and go to the vertex number 2. This is our first connection. From 2, we move to 3, then to 4, 8, 5, 6, and 7. The 7th vertex is missing more connections already, so we go back to the next vertex that has them. This is vertex number 8, from which we go to 9 and finish the search here. BFS, breadth first search. This is the second, completely different way of searching a graph. We use the queue method to implement this algorithm. How does it work? Let's start our search from vertex number 1. We put it into the queue and we follow the rule. We put all the vertices connected into the queue. The queue now looks like 1, 2, 5, and 9. Then we leave vertex number 1 by removing it from the queue at the same time. Now we have 2, 5, and 9. Now we are taking the next item in the queue, it's vertex number 2. We add all unvisited connections of this vertex to the queue, so vertex 3 and vertex number 4. Our queue 2, 5, 9, 3, and 4. We leave vertex number 2 by removing it from the queue and going to the next one. it's element number 5, and we throw into the queue all unvisited connections with this vertex. Now it's look like 5, 9, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. We repeat these actions until the entire graph is passed. Visiting all vertices will end when the queue is empty. Okay, it's all on my part. Now it's Maja time to show. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
A Hamiltonian path, or traceable path, is a path that visits each vertex of the graph exactly once. A graph that contains a Hamiltonian path is called a traceable graph. A graph is Hamiltonian connected if for every pair of vertices there is a Hamiltonian path between the two vertices. A Hamiltonian cycle, Hamiltonian circuit, vertex tour, or graph cycle is a cycle that visits each vertex exactly once. A graph that contains a Hamiltonian cycle is called a Hamiltonian graph. Similar notions may be defined for directed graphs where each edge of a path or cycle can only be traced in a single direction. For example, the vertices are connected with arrows and the edges traced tail to head. A Hamiltonian decomposition is an edge decomposition of a graph into Hamiltonian circuits. There also is a Hamilton maze, which is a type of logic puzzle in which the goal is to find a unique Hamiltonian cycle in a given graph. Here are some examples, such as a complete graph with more than two vertices is Hamiltonian, every cycle graph is Hamiltonian, every tournament has an odd number of Hamiltonian paths, every Platonic solid, considered as graph, is Hamiltonian. Now let's focus on some of the properties. Any Hamiltonian cycle can be converted to a Hamiltonian path by removing one of its edges, but a Hamiltonian path can be extended to a Hamiltonian cycle only if its endpoints are adjacent. All Hamiltonian graphs are biconnected, but a biconnected graph need not be Hamiltonian. See, for example, the Petersen graph showed above. An Eulerian graph G, a connected graph in which every vertex has given degree, necessarily has an Euler tour, a closed walk passing through each edge of G exactly once. This tour corresponds to a Hamiltonian cycle in the line graph L of G, so the line graph of every Eulerian graph is Hamiltonian. Line graphs may have other Hamiltonian cycles that do not correspond to Euler tours, and in particular the line graph L of G of every Hamiltonian graph G is itself Hamiltonian, regardless of whether the graph G is Eulerian. A tournament with more than two vertices is Hamiltonian if and only if it is strongly connected. Next, Eulerian path. Eulerian path is a path in graph that visits every edge exactly once. Eulerian circuit is an Eulerian path which starts and ends on the same vertex. The first graph has Eulerian paths, for example, 4, 3, 0, 1, 2, 0, but no Eulerian cycle. Note that there are two vertices with odd degree, 4 and 0. The next graph has Eulerian cycles, for example 2, 1, 0, 3, 4, 0, 2. Note that all vertices have even degree. The third graph is not Eulerian. Note that there are 4 vertices with an odd degree, 0, 1, 3, and 4. What about conditions? Well, an undirected graph has Eulerian cycle if following two conditions are true. All vertices with non-zero degree are connected. We don't care about vertices with 0 degree because they don't belong to Eulerian cycle or path. We only consider all edges. And second, all vertices have even degree. For Eulerian path, first condition matches the one from Eulerian cycle, and second states If 0 or 2 vertices have odd degree and all other vertices have even degree, note that the only one vertex with odd degree is not possible in an undirected graph. Sum of all degrees is always even in an undirected graph. Please note that the graph with no edges is considered Eulerian because there are no edges to traverse. About Fleur's algorithm. It is an elegant but inefficient algorithm that dates to 1883. Consider a graph known to have all edges in the same component and at most two vertices of odd degree. The algorithm starts at the vertex of odd degree, or, if the graph has none, it starts with an arbitrary chosen vertex. At each step it chooses the next edge in the path to be the one whose deletion would not disconnect the graph, unless there is no such edge, in which case it picks the remaining edge left at the current vertex. It then moves to the other endpoint of that edge and deletes the edge. At the end of the algorithm there are no edges left, and the sequence from which the edges were chosen from forms an Eulerian cycle, if the graph has no vertices of odd degree, or an Eulerian trail if there are exactly two vertices of odd degree. Let's talk about the graphs showed below. In the first one there are two vertices with odd degrees, 2 and 3, and we can start paths from any of them. Let us start the tour from vertex 2. 3 edges are going out from vertex 2. Which one to pick? We don't pick the edge 2 to 3 because this is a bridge, and we won't be able to come back to 3. We can pick any of the remaining 2 edges. Let us say we pick 2 to 0. We remove this edge and move to vertex 0. Then there is only one edge from vertex 0, so we pick it, remove it, and move to vertex 1. Euler tour becomes 2, 0, 0, 1. Same thing in the vertex 1. We pick it, remove it, and move to vertex 2. Euler tour becomes 2, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2. Again, there is only one edge from vertex 2, so we pick it, remove it, and move to vertex 3. Euler tour becomes 2, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. There are no more edges left, so we stop here. Final tour is 2, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. And now another worth mentioning algorithm, Haier-Holz's algorithm. Haier-Holz's 1873 paper provides a different method for finding Euler cycles that is more efficient than Fleur's algorithm. Choose any starting vertex V and follow a trail of edges from that vertex until returning to V. It is not possible to get stuck at any vertex other than V because the even degree of vertices ensures that when the trail enters another vertex W, there must be an unused edge leaving W. The tour formed in this way is a closed tour, but may not cover all the vertices and edges of the initial graph. As long as there exists a vertex U that belongs to the current tour, but has an adjacent edges not part of the tour, start another trail from U, following unused edges until returning to U, and join the tour formed in this way to the previous tour. Since we assume the original graph is connected, repeating the previous step will exhaust all edges of the graph. And that will be the end of our presentation. Thank you all who listened, and we really do hope you had a chance to learn something new. Have a great day, and until next time.